Thanks to President Biden's bipartisan infrastructure bill, $27 billion will now be made available to repair deteriorating bridges all across the country. That includes $1.6 billion heading directly to Pennsylvania, a state with some of the bridges most in need of repair. The Biden infrastructure bill was signed into law last November and has since been promoted diligently coast to coast by Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg, who was just in Philadelphia at the state-owned steel bridge on Martin Luther King Jr. Drive. That bridge has been closed for safety concerns, forcing 25,000 morning commuters to reroute their drives to work and childcare facilities every Monday through Friday.
Philadelphia has a great deal of pride in being an old city with a deep heritage and a great history. That also means there's a lot of maintenance needs. This is the most that the federal government has committed to fix and repair and enhance bridges since the interstate highway system itself was created under President Eisenhower.
Under Biden's law, the federal government pays 100% of the bridge repairs, and that 100% applies to bridges which are part of the federal highway system, but also to bridges which are owned by counties and states. Traditionally, the counties and states have had to pay 20% out of their own budgets. Under Biden's law, they contribute zero. Democratic Senator from Pennsylvania Bob Casey Jr. voted for the Biden infrastructure bill, which is funding all of these bridge repairs. Republican Senator Pat Toomey voted against the bill. Also voting against the bill, Republican congressmen from the state Glenn Thompson and Fred Keller. 15,000 bridges will be repaired over the next 5 years thanks to the funding provided by President Joe Biden's bipartisan infrastructure bill. And as always, you can keep track of our midterm Democratic candidates and the 2022 Blue Wave by going to YouCantBeatBlue.com.
What we ultimately have to be focused on right now is not only getting us in office, but also this important work that we need to do to turn Texas blue. And that's the reason that I did this, because it's time. I have the experience, and no better way but to do that, but to roll up your sleeves and get to work.
Today, I'm pleased to welcome Venton Jones to You Can't Beat Blue. I'm going to let Venton tell you all about his race to win the seat for Texas House District 100. Venton, thank you so much for joining me today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It is a pleasure, and I'm looking forward to our conversation today.
Let's give our viewers some calls to action. People in Texas House District 100 can vote for you on March 1st. Actually, they can vote for you before March 1st, right?
As early as February the 14th. That's when early vote starts in Dallas County. And early vote will be open for 2 weeks. And then the actual election day will be March the 1st.
So tell me, how did you decide to run to represent Texas House District 100? Why now? What prompted you to do this?
I would say for me, it's really about the bigger question of how do I show up in this moment, or how can I show up in this moment when we are tackling healthcare inequities and wanting to see better, not only for myself or for my family, but for the many families in this district. I have the experience, and no better way but to do that, but to roll up your sleeves and get to work.
Tell our viewers about yourself.
Absolutely. I was actually born and raised in Dallas, Texas, and particularly in this House district that I'm now looking to serve as the next state representative. I've worked 15 years in addressing healthcare, social justice, topics that have been key and critical to the people that we are serving in House District 100. In this moment where we are dealing with the COVID pandemic, it's so critical to have someone that's going into this seat that has a focus on healthcare, because we know how critical healthcare, access to healthcare are important to those who are living in House District 100, because when you are experiencing issues around economic stability, it's so important, just starting with the job, to make that connection with healthcare. Why is that? Because most people access their healthcare through their jobs. And if there's situations like COVID right now where people are losing their jobs, they're losing their access to their health insurance. I am the founder and chief executive officer of the Southern Black Policy and Advocacy Network, which is a nonprofit that is focused on improving health outcomes and reducing health disparities, health and social disparities, impacting Black communities living in the 16 states of the U.S. South, inclusive of Washington, D.C. Healthcare, the economy, voting rights, those are all things that I've worked on in Washington, D.C. And that was all because I wanted to be able to come back at a point in my career and work particularly in the area that I grew up in. And when you look at some of our neighborhoods, it feels like you're in a time warp where you see everything around you that's growing. You see more opportunities coming, but you have a group of individuals or a community that's not seeing those things. That's why I'm running to make a difference in that community, because at the end of the day, it's not just a House district number. And this is not just, an election to me. It is my home. It is the people that I grew up with, that I care about, and that I want to see achieve that American dream.
I love that.
Let's talk about the power of small dollar donations. A person maybe only has $5, $10. Do you want that $5, $10, or is that a pain in the butt?
It means more, those small amounts, because, someone, with, $100 or $1,000, I definitely would love that. But I think that to the individuals that may only have, $5, $10, $20, that means so much, because that is, $5 or $10, $20, away from, that could be a meal, that can be, other things that people need so critically, right now. So I think that it's an honor to be able to get that can help support, yard signs, messaging, so that we can get out and educate, voters, because we have mailers, we have different things that we have to do, because what we ultimately have to be focused on right now is not only getting us in office, but also this important work that we need to do to turn Texas blue. It's something that I'm so passionate about.
I think that's fantastic.
Tell us about the folks who live in your district. What kind of challenges do they face?
Well, when you look at House District 100, which is a primarily African American district, it is a district that surrounds the downtown Dallas area. So, what's critical about this map is that this district is really surrounded by wealth. So one thing that's very important is that the people that are living in this area are well represented. What you will see when you look at the numbers is that the average resident oftentimes is really just trying to make ends meet in these areas. And we have to make sure that they have transportation to their jobs. We have to make sure that they can afford the property taxes that are still continuing to skyrocket. Also making sure that there's access to healthcare. You're seeing even individuals who may have access to insurance, these huge spikes in insurance premiums that's also taking place now as we are navigating the COVID pandemic.
Let's give our viewers some calls to action. How can they find out more about you?
You can go to my website, www.venton4100.com to keep up with what's going on with the campaign.
They can also find you on Facebook at Venton J and on Twitter at Venton Jones. Easy enough.
Well, Venton, thank you so much for stepping up and running. It means everything. We will get your information dropped into the show notes so that everybody knows what to do.
Thank you so much for this opportunity, and I look forward to speaking with you soon on the other side as the next state representative for House District 100.